Welcome back to the Human First podcast with me, Adrian Murphy. Today I'm here with Kathleen McShane, owner of the Bavarian Bakehouse in Glasgow.
That's right.
I believe it is Glasgow's oldest artisan bakery.
I believe it is as well. It was started over 40 years ago by a German merchant seaman who settled in Glasgow, Carl Wiekman.
Wow.
He married a Scottish school teacher and he set up in the south side and with a couple of bakers. So I think we probably did all the original croissants, went into Nico's and Baby Grand and all these type of places. I bought the bakery when he was retiring 13, 14 years ago. There was 3 bakers and a driver, 4 people, and we've grown over that time. We've now got 29 staff and probably just under 2 million turnover and 250 plus wholesale customers. That's brilliant. A variety of sizes.
And that's not you didn't train as a baker.
No.
I think it's interesting, what we want to get into obviously is your story.
Yeah.
Where you've come from, why do you do what you do? That's always really interesting to find out, given that I keep saying this, that's never a straight line, right?
No.
And
I
yours
love
is
that.
another
I
great
say that
example.
to my son, it's not a straight line.
It's definitely not. You just don't know what's around the corner. We've had previous guests say, a success was a series of failures.
Yeah,
that's how you got there. So I think it'd be great to hear more about that. We're just going to have a really good conversation. But also, if there's any inspirations that you've drawn on to get you to where you are today, and also, I guess, for you that again the crossroads of your career, your family, your health, money, all of that stuff. How do you figure all of that out? Again, that's always really interesting. So maybe we start with your beginnings, then that'd be really good.
Okay, so I'm a chartered accountant, and I love numbers, and that's how I get into that. Plus the prospect of knowing that you could earn some money, and there's loads of different avenues. I've never found it as boring as people think. But I have, over my career, I started off doing international audit, which was pinnacle. I worked for Trust House 40 and used to audit their 5-star hotels all over the Caribbean and Europe. So
you travelled doing?
I travelled doing it. So I was 21 and I lived in these hotels. I had, so you're picking things out that maybe get Michael Jackson and Diana Ross to audit their meal takings at night and things like that. So that was amazing. So after that, anything else?
Where do you go from there?
Yeah, I know. So I settled in London for a few years, and then I did some corporate jobs. I worked in the telecoms industry when it was getting set up, the mobile phones. So I've always been more on the sales side and the commercial side of finance, which I enjoy. I quite enjoy working with salespeople. So I think that's a wee bit in my blood as well. Trying to translate the numbers and make everyone stay on board and
What do they mean?
Yeah, what do they mean, and let them look at deals. I finished my kind of corporate career with HP, who were, again, another pinnacle. I worked with them in London and Galway in Ireland, and I worked with a team that looked after software licenses. So we worked with Microsoft and all the big companies. They were amazing. They knew how to look after people. My boss was in Switzerland, my team was all over Europe, but we all did the jobs we had to do. You weren't kind of corralled into doing things. So it was a real lesson for me in customer services and how to motivate people, really. And by that time I'd moved back to Glasgow and get married. I wasn't a spring chicken either. So I had my son. I took a couple of years out and started doing contracting work. So I ended up working for some banks and some different Scottish companies. It was quite a different environment. It felt a bit like stepping back in time. And I decided that wasn't how I wanted to spend the last kind of quarter of my working life.
Yeah.
And at that point, you know, I'd made a decision for a few years. I always thought there was like 3 factors: time, money, and challenge. So when my son was small, it was about time and money. You
Yeah.
know, it was how much I could earn with taking the least amount of time away from home. And that's where I did contract work and things. But there was no challenge.
Yeah.
So I started to get restless and thought, right, what am I going to do? Because by that time, you know, things settled down. We can do without the money. We've got enough money.
Yep.
You know, I can live with less, but I need the challenge. You know what I mean? And the time's still important, the money, you know, but that needs to come further up the rankings. And I started to look around, you know, at businesses or what I was going to potentially do. And there was the bakery was actually beside me in Kirkintilloch.
Right, okay.
And it'd been for sale for a while. So we started to go down and chat to Carl and get to know him. And we thought everything that he had, he'd all these products and belief, and that whole German efficiency was, even though it was manual, it was all the way through. But he didn't have any customer service. He had no financial, you know, all the bits that my husband and I could bring to the table.
Yeah.
Were missing, and we just thought we could do a lot with it.
And it's really interesting. So you kind of you knew what your priorities were, but your priorities have shifted up and down.
Yeah, definitely. I think they do all the time, don't they? Have to say it's not quite the life balance that I thought it was going to be. I don't know. He definitely led me astray when he's like, I'm in here from 7 in the morning to 11. I'm like, okay, brilliant. Nope.
And
not once.
That's it. That's
not
all.
once.
No, never. No, yeah.
Never. I've driven vans, delivering Stirlingshire. I've been overnight because we're a 24-hour operation, 6 days a week. So I've done everything across the board in the last 14 years, and not once have I worked 4 hours in a day. So.
No. So what was it about that? You were obviously looking for, it feels like
an opportunity.
some purpose, an opportunity, a reason to get up in the morning, right?
Yeah.
So what was it about that business other than being nearby?
Yeah, well, you know, I did dabble with maybe being like an accountant, and but there was something missing. I think the sales side, the commercial side, and also my husband and I are, you know, we used to go and buy all our shops from the local butchers, the bakers. We're not massively into supermarkets. We believe in, you know, just sustainability and being clean. Yeah. So when it was a food business, and then when you learn that he still uses the traditional recipes, flour, water, salt, and he could get like 300 items. You know, he's got a huge product line, but basically made from scratch every night. Like, we just massively bought into it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But we had some amazing bakers at the time, just the 3 of them, led by an amazing manager, Gillies, and he like just had this positive attitude. He was the bakery's whole, you know, ethos, really, and nothing was too much trouble. And
that's brilliant.
Yeah, it was.
They're not easy to come by.
No, it wasn't. You know, like the stories I could tell of, you know, what they did, snowstorms where they come in, like, because the bakery had been shut, you know, they had to come back in and start 48 hours before. The whole industrial estate was snowed out, so they all come in and baked like for 36 hours straight, and then carried everything out the back door to the motorway to deliver to people. Like, you know, that's, you know, people that we have, our team are just committed to the quality and
that's so
the product.
Important. You wouldn't be able to do it, I guess, without that.
No.
And so what was it about? Did you see a bigger opportunity? Obviously he'd been there for a long time.
Yes.
At that point, so what, he'd been there 25 years, 26 years.
Yeah.
And he had a really interesting product, and it ticked a lot of boxes for you. But did you see something bigger there?
Yeah,
that you thought.
Well,
you
he wasn't profitable, and you know he'd done overdraft in the bank. Right. So and I'd worked with software licenses, which have got very low margin. We're negotiating like for 0.25%, you know, margin with these big international companies. So I knew you could run a business like not a huge margin if you got the volume and you were just really disciplined. So the financial part massively came in to play with it, and I thought the products are there, the concept was there. It was just really taking all the skills that I'd learned in different places and making it my own.
I think that's really important, actually. You know, we we're here talking about you and your story and your business, but there's something in there for people listening that maybe have a great product or potentially what is a great business. They're going, why is this not working? Why is it, in essence, why is it not making money? And that there is something about the discipline and the rigor
Completely.
that you know, somebody like you with your background brings to it. If you feel like that's missing, maybe that's something you might want to consider.
Definitely. And we, you know, being involved, we've had a lot of customers, and we try and help them. Like, when we see it, you know, we can see, you know, we've been in it so long now, we can spot the people that have got experience, spot the people that are kind of new to it. You know, they'll say, oh, can we pay monthly? And you're like, that's a mistake. It's not just more work for me, but it's more work for you, and then you'll miss it. And then it'll be a challenge.
Yep.
You know, if you're selling my stuff on day one, like, and then paying 30 days worth, like, you know, and you're doing that for everyone, you're going to get into bother, you know. So just helping people realise just a few, you know, giving them hints and tips. And we work with people a lot when they do get into that. We help them get back on their feet, and it just brings customer loyalty.
So that's so working with your customers, even just if you happen to notice behaviours or maybe processes, you think that this could help you.
Yeah, and
that's
I think
really interesting.
You know, I think one of our key values is our customer service, and traditionally the bakery business, you know, a lot was inherited and it was moving forward, and it's definitely changed a lot in the last 10 years. But back, you know, 14 years ago, you know, we could notice maybe the customer service could be improved, and you know, I brought kind of American values to that, like we say yes and then we work out
how to do it.
Like, you know, like I don't say no, you know, there's no, like, we don't deliver up there, we just will find a way. If I've got to go in my car and you give me enough business, you know, we, you know, try to offer a bespoke service for chefs, you know, so that's the fun part, going out meeting exec chefs and sitting down with them. And, you know, the bigger kind of hospitality groups work with us, you know, we'll do Christmas things. They want some consistent products and know they can rely on us, but they want to be able to also phone up and say, you know, we want this cake, we want this bread. So, you know, that's who we're focused on.
So it's very much a relationship business.
Hugely.
Rather, you know, people think of bakery, you can imagine you go in, you're making things.
Yeah.
You're actually going to your customers and saying, what is it you need?
Totally. But you can't, like, you know, you can't make them take things either. You know, that's what, being wholesale, and that's where the shop, I think, is going to be slightly different for us, because we've never had anything where people can come and see. We've never been able to say, oh, let's try this. We have to wait for them to come to us, or, you know, we try and put out some, you know, ideas, or, you know, there's different trends and things like that. But unless people order, you know, and we bake to order, which is incredible efficiency as well. So we take orders to 7 o'clock the night before, and then they go out the door at 4 o'clock the following morning.
That's why you're open 24 hours, I guess.
It's got to be really slick.
Yeah, right? That's,
you know.
Very. I take it you took a lot of the German efficiency and process with you
we
as
just
well.
went with it, you know, and we've improved a lot of things, but, you know, everything was still there. The bakers, they're the key part of it, and we've built a support staff around them.
Yeah, brilliant. And just, you touched on the shop, that's probably a lovely segue. That's a massive thing. So for people who, you know, you and I were talking before, they might not have come across the Bavarian Bakehouse as a brand yet because it's not direct to consumer. However, that's about to change.
Yes. So we, you know, with COVID, we lost all our business, and within 5 days it went from 100 to 10% and then to 0. And, you know, thank goodness for furlough and everything, because a lot of other bakeries did okay because they could open a shop, but we didn't have anywhere like that.
Of course,
you know, we supported some of the delis and things, but they weren't a huge percentage of our volume. But we reopened after 6 weeks, and we built a website. So we did, and then we had a few open days at the bakery itself.
Right, okay.
So that kind of started to trickle through. So we've kept the website going, but it's not high volumes. But, you know, we love, it's all local and people that get to know us. So we've started to build it, and we've done some markets, but it just started to look like we needed something
Yeah.
else. And the serendipity of where we're opening the shop is, I think, Carol had a shop there the best part of 25 years ago in the same
Really?
street.
No way. And that was that by accident, or did you
Yeah,
know?
it was well, not
Yeah.
by, I knew that it was there, but, this
It was just a
opportunity came
coincidence.
up.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, this has to be the right shop for us. If he used to be, it could even be the same unit, I don't know. But people know the Bavarian Bakehouse was in the West End, Highland Street,
Yeah.
years ago. So
How long ago was it there, did you say?
I think it was probably about 25 years ago.
Right. Just trying to think, because I lived in Partick
Oh,
at
did
that
you?
time. Yeah. Maybe, do you know, maybe just before my time, only just there or thereabouts. But yeah, oh, that's brilliant. It's a
know.
great location as well.
Oh, it's a fantastic location. We've got Partick Market
Yes, of
twice a
course.
week, so
That's right.
that should be a nice surge. And lots of other wee bakeries and
Yeah,
units up
lots
and
of
down the
coffee
street.
shops, bakeries,
yeah, totally.
etc. along
Yeah,
there.
it'd be great.
It makes it almost, it's a nice wee destination for people now to
Totally.
go, with the market being there as well.
Yeah, it's a food hub.
How do you think that will change how you think about the business?
I think we're still a wholesale, and I wouldn't ever want to take away from that, because it takes a totally different set of skills to, it's a big chunk of it's logistics, and so that's still a primary focus. But this should just give us some way of letting our customers and the end customers see who we are as a business, and seeing our products. And I should have brought some today.
I know. I
like that.
haven't had any lunch. I was looking forward to it.
They're huge. We're, German, big cakes, all the rye breads, all the sourdoughs and brioche. We just do everything. So yeah, it'll give us a chance to show that to the public.
So is that what, I guess, there's other bakeries around, and,
Yes.
as we talked about, there seems to be hubs, Kelvin Bridge,
Yeah.
and around. So what is it about the Bavarian Bakehouse that you think how would people recognise it?
I think probably the size.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of it's a bit more traditional than, but we do, the size. So just go the size and quality of things as well. There's amazing bakers all started, but they tend to specialise in different areas. One will do cakes or a couple of different bread products. We have, we're a traditional bakery in the fact that we do everything right across the board, from scones and bagels and pretzels and cakes, sourdoughs, everything.
Yeah.
And now you'll be able to get it in one place. So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
And what is it about this? You've been doing this job now for 14 years. With this business, you're taking steps to expand it and go into different markets now. So what keeps you going?
I think you've always got to be looking for something new. I think for a long time, the bakery just every year was booming, and the challenges were all kind of internal. And once you get to a certain size, we've grown organically. We haven't had investment externally, so it's maybe been slower than some places, but we're on a really good, steady, even keel, which is important. And I've managed now, I think in the last couple of years, I've got a great management team, raised myself to do a managing director's job, so I've got a bit more headspace to think strategically and where we go next. And I think it's a niche that's I've wanted to scratch for quite a long time, to just get the brand out there more, because we do well without having a brand.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
what can we do if we actually have a brand?
Yeah.
So
there's just still a bit of ambition there.
Oh, totally.
To take it forward, yeah.
And the whole team is, I think everyone, all 29 staff, are so excited, taking on something new, and it's visible.
Oh, so will some of them be in? How will that work? Will some of them be in?
No, probably no.
So you'll supply the.
Yeah, they'll supply it, but it's somewhere for them to be identified.
Absolutely, yes,
because everyone goes to work and you work overnight as well. 19 of our staff are in from between 10 o'clock at night and 8, 9 o'clock in the morning.
Do you put your phone on Do Not Disturb at night, or do
No.
you have to?
No, but my husband and I do take it in turns.
Yeah,
We do take it in
on
turns,
call.
and there's probably 6-month, yearly turns where you understand that you're it. But and we don't we don't get disturbed too much, but we have had things, the electricity's went off, or because people want to update electricity things, and overnight they're not thinking there's a bakery in the area.
Of course, yeah.
You're like, or water. We had in our last bakery, we had floods. We're in the floodplain in Kirkintilloch. Honestly, I could seriously write a book about all the chaotic things that have happened in the last 13, 14 years.
And I take it you've learned from each of those, you've overcome each of them, because again, it can be difficult to, everything seems like a one-off big disaster at the time, but you tend to learn that they're relatively common.
Totally.
and the solutions are probably relatively similar. It's just it's a slightly different problem,
Yeah, exactly. It's hard. I think it is hard emotionally and anxiety-wise, because you want everything to be right. You want the harder things when it involves people, because they're the most important.
Yeah.
And your customers, and that's we always say to customers as well. I think it's a place we distinguish ourselves as we. When things go wrong for them, we try and sort it. So, if they forget to order or something happens, they run out, the phone is. We might not have what they take, but we have something, and we'll take it in and put them right. So I think, and we have many small crises every week. Like that, whether it's us or them. So there's, you have to, thankfully, after doing it for about 10 years, I had to take a step back. I've got a great support team in the office that help all those mini crises every day. So I only have to deal with the big ones.
Yes. Oh, good. They're less frequent, but tend to be somewhat more challenging.
Yeah, exactly. Like just now we've got 4 vans off the road. Your logistics, 4 vans all at the one time. So.
And vans are, I believe, we don't need vans in our business, but I believe they're quite hard to come by.
They're hard to come by. They're hard to maintain. They're hard to, even under warranty, people don't want to fix them. So one's been, so I had to buy 2 extra vans. I've got 1 hire. So, because you can't not deliver, my van's off the road, so that's a cost to the business that I would rather not be carrying at the moment. But, it's utterly outside my control, I'm relying on other people giving me solutions.
So you said that you've kind of put yourself into this MD, CEO type role now, so more strategic.
Yes.
So more, on the business than in the business.
Yes. I don't know if I'm that removed, but
I know we'd all like to think that. Sounds good though when you say it, doesn't it? But what do you think that allows you to do differently then from maybe where you were, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago?
Yeah, talk to more people, I think, actually promote the business and look at how, where the gaps are and the weaknesses are, trying to, the brand is a big, deal, I think, getting the name out there, and just think several months in advance, because we're very cyclical, we're very daily, and we're very weekly. We get to a Saturday because we work a Saturday, and we all go, that's another week done. So you need to be able to step outside it and think, what can we do differently to keep the business going? And there's always something that is. Everyone's motivated. As I say, nobody says no. We're bizarrely number one on the Google search for German bakeries London.
Right.
So
Great.
we've had all these, and we've been very good. We've got new social media, a girl that works for us, and she's been great at promoting Oktoberfest. We do pretzels. We've never made so many pretzels, and they're all going to London.
So, that's amazing.
I know.
So it just shows you the opportunity, and also there's an appetite, if you excuse the pun, for the product.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And then I say, so going back to the shop, that's a big shift. So what's the kind of connection between, I get the drive to do that personally, or from a business kind of ambition, but what's the connection to what you're trying to achieve personally in your life?
Right, okay. That's not quite so easy to answer because, as I said,
Can't
it
all
was
be easy
about...
questions.
No, because I think, the definite life balance has not been as balanced
Yeah.
as we would have wished. It's not been the 4 hours, and it does consume the whole family. Even my 16-year-old son has been up, can do a turn in the market, but that's fun,
Yeah,
as long as you see the
yeah.
fun side of it. And I guess I still get excited. In the quiet moments, I still get excited, and I still, want to do more with it and grow the business, make it more solid and more profitable and just more seen.
Yeah. And what does that then deliver for you
Pe-
in your life?
Yeah, more chaos. I guess
Less time,
less
more
time.
hassle.
Yeah, we've not managed to totally. We're definitely better than we were. So that's what I want, is better life balance. And I would love a Saturday back. When I eventually retire, having a Saturday back will just blow my mind. Even though I'm not always in the business, it doesn't matter. That my husband helps me on a Saturday, and to have a Saturday back. But I guess a sense of achievement personally, and we do it as a family, which is fun
That's
as
nice
well.
that everyone can get
Yeah.
involved. Yeah.
Oh, we're all passionate
Yeah.
about the business, and we know all the staff and a lot of their families, and I think we are a family business. Some people think we're really big because we do so much.
Yeah.
We're really
Yeah.
not. We're 29 people, and I would say more than 70% have been with me more than 5 years, 4 or 5 years. So
That's
yeah,
fantastic.
it's great. It's
So
brilliant.
if you fast forward then a few years, it's
Yeah.
always difficult to do. We've all got
Yeah.
plans, 3-year plans, 5-year plans,
Yes.
whatever they might be. In those, if you were to put yourself, and we were sitting here in 3 years' time, what kind of conversation would we be having, do you think?
I think I'd have even more life balance. I think I would definitely have been able to step up more and be more reliant on my team, and maybe not working, the 5-6 days. That would definitely be a dream that, but I think we would still have grown. We might have more than one shop. We might be regularly sending around the country. We might have looked for some kind of more retail packaging.
Yeah.
But I think still properly anchored on to Bavarian Bakehouse and what we do and who we are.
Yeah. And do you see, do you see your son ending up in the business?
No. No.
Is that just a short-term thing, or do you think it's
no.
not his thing?
Well, no, he wants, he's 16, he knows what he wants to do, but it's not easy.
No.
And you would, maybe eventually you'd want him to have something like this, but, I'm not going to be hanging around long enough to...
Aye. Wait for him to
wait for him to, go and explore the world.
Yes.
Because I think that's really important, right? Like, a lot of people do it and they do the business, but having some life experience, I think it helps people run a business, because I think not just with the financial parts, but the values part.
Yeah.
Like, you need to know what the right thing is to do and the wrong thing.
Yeah. I would guess a lot of the lessons that you learned from your earlier career that you were talking about, as much as yes, you were an accountant, so which is really good basis for being involved in a business of your own. But it's probably the other lessons that you learned in how to deal with people, how to work with companies, cultures, values, all these types of things are the things that you probably bring more. Yeah,
those are like so important. I think the financial part's me. That's the background. I manage that. I don't need anyone else to help me with that. But, actually instilling those values and just people knowing that I actually care, we care, about their circumstances, and we look after you. And that helps. It means everyone wants you to do well, the business to do well. Those values are so important. You quickly learn how to talk to people and what people need.
I think it's a particular challenge just now that you hear again and again as people and different generations and post-COVID generations and all that type of thing. So to being able to have a business where everyone's pulling in the same direction is quite an achievement.
Yeah, I think it is as well. You know, it's not like, you know, we don't have blips and things like that, but everyone that stays gets it.
Yeah.
You know.
What would you say was or has been your biggest challenge to date then, if you could pick one out?
Yeah, there's been lots.
I'm sensing that.
Yeah, I like. I think one of the big ones we had was coming out of COVID. Up to that point, like, you know, we'd had this massive crash. COVID, like everyone, I think, ups and downs, and then coming out of it and finding we actually couldn't get staff, and there was demand there.
Yeah.
That was really challenging, and we had like, you know, staff retired, passed away. You know, the bakers, and you know, we had a real changing of the guard, and we couldn't find trained people to come in. You know, we want to stick to our core values.
Yep.
You know, what the bakers do, they make by hand. It's a real skill set. And I think there was a real gap in training people for a few years, you know. So so the people that we found that had the skill set were in their 40s and didn't want to stand on their feet overnight, understandably, unless they'd always been doing it, or they, you know, so we had a real skill set gap that was massively challenging.
There's no easy way to bridge that.
No, like, you know, guys were just doing excessive hours, you know, thank goodness we kept them with us, and, you know, but we had to come up with all kinds of solutions. It was very stressful, and then we decided to bring in apprentices and train them ourselves. It was a kind of ching, light bulb moment. And then we also decided that like not to do one or two. We decided let's bring 6 of them in, because just to give them a team, because, you know, overnight we didn't always expect to keep them all, you know, like, but yeah, it's been brilliant. So I think of the original, I think I've still got 6, but I think I've got another 3 or 4 come through, and I've lost a couple, but, you know, we've kept 3 of the original 6, so I think that's doing not too really bad. Good. Yeah. So, and
now you've got a kind of tried and tested process.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we get the support of Scottish Bakers. It's a trade organisation, and they do the theoretical side of it, and then we do all our recipes and the technical stuff. But they made themselves an amazing team. So much so, one Christmas we turned around, they'd had a night out, and they'd all got tattoos. They'd all
That's fantastic.
BBY team. Bavarian Bakehouse Young Team.
I hope they don't regret that in years to come.
I think there's a couple that might have got them somewhere visible.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's real brand loyalty right there, isn't it?
Well, I'm thinking, okay, so if they believe in us, maybe we need to get the name out there.
I'm going to go back and see if I can get the team to get that tattooed on their arms. I'm not sure they'll go for it.
No. I was like that. You what? Like a mum. I went to mum mode. I went, you what?
Yeah. Well, we do. Don't tell your parents. So
had nothing to do with it.
That's brilliant. But that's a real sign of commitment.
Yeah,
even if
totally.
it was on a night out. Yes. It obviously seemed like a good idea.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that comes to mind that you know, again, that people listening can take away from your experience so far?
Yeah.
You know, shifting, you know, learnings from early career, changing careers, taking risks, everything that you've done.
I think just what you said at the beginning, it's not a straight line. And, you know, for me, when I made the decision, I really didn't know what I was taking on. I knew what I wanted to get out of it. And I've got challenged, because, you know, you only live once. You want to make sure you've ticked all the boxes, you've used all the experience that you've gained. And why not make it, you know, for yourself with your values?
Yeah.
You know, just bringing those values. So for other people, like, you've just got to keep going. It's not a straight line, and it's not without stresses. You have to be resilient. But, you know, you do it through people and being good to people. Like, if you don't look after people, and you're not, a good person with staff, it won't work.
No. I think there's something in doing it for the right reasons as well. That your why is, we often talk about that. And if you're not doing it for the right reasons, then it's not authentic.
No.
And you're going to get found out at some point,
Totally.
whether
Completely.
by your people or your customers
Yeah.
or something else, some other stakeholder.
Yeah, you can't go for this length of time, I think, and continue to grow because your people represent you out as well. And, we're kind of naturally sustainable. We were ahead of like the Great British Bake Off and a lot of the artisan bakeries that are brilliant and doing so well now. But, we're a sustainable business naturally. We're naturally vegan. So we went into that. We don't package everything. We deliver a lot of it unpackaged where we can. So we're kind of the old ways.
Yeah.
We're now just going back
yes, exactly,
to the old ways.
That's a great point.
You know what I mean? Like why we change things, we overcomplicate them.
Yeah. And there's definitely, we're all much more conscious of our own footprint. But there's a real movement, particularly in food, with Bryce Cunningham on from Mossgiel Farms, who's creating a sustainable way to sustainable dairy farms, and that seems to be a real kind of something that's gathering some real steam, and it's really interesting what you said. It's like basically going back to the way things were done before. It was like just done at scale, huge scale, which is probably how we ended up in a bit of bother. Yeah.
So, like some of the bread, they messed up. All the people, you can't generalise. People have issues, but we messed up the food production. We messed up bread. It's called the Chorley Wood process, where instead of like making it a lengthy process and let the yeast develop in the bread, which is what we now call artisan sourdoughs, it's gone back to old ways of making it. The Chorley Wood process, which is kind of supermarket bread, they sped up that process, by using different techniques. Right. And that's why there's different chemicals to counterbalance it. But it's traditional ways, taking time, simple ingredients, and it's, as an accountant, it's efficient because you're using, you're not buying things in, you're using...
what's there.
You're using what's there. You're using things, scratch ingredients, source ingredients. So you control your costs, but you're investing in, like, the people to do the job. And that's, long term.
Is there broader health, or what has there been a broader health impact of that? Because presumably that's just more highly processed stuff that is still going on, and that's really unhealthy.
Yeah, and I hugely believe in that, and that's go back to actually buying a food business, because that was my kind of core values of going to a butcher. He knows his traceability, and even before I understood all that side of it, and with bread making, it's a fermentation, so it's better for your gut.
Yeah, well, that's what
what I mean. And
everyone's got these intolerances now and all that stuff.
Totally. And I think some of it, not all of it, but some of it's because it's actually not bread. It's like over processed. It's got chemicals and bleaches, and it's not got yeast. It's not fermented. But that's why the sourdoughs. There's a whole better understanding out there that people like sourdoughs and kimchi. It's natural. It's like done that way for a reason. So sticking to that helps your health as well. Bread's not all bad.
No, and that's, I think bread gets a bad rap.
They do.
And I love bread. And as a very amateur athlete, we talk about what we're intaking, like white bread, terrible. This bad. But it's not as simple as that. It's the same thing with the milk. They talk about it's what is it actually? Is it processed? Is it not? What type is it?
Exactly.
And that's really interesting.
Yeah. So, and like that, I'd like to say, that was me, but it wasn't. It's what I bought and inherited. He brought those recipes over from Germany. It's what he made in the merchant ships. It's what he was trained as in Germany. And they train the condimeisters, they trained them all. They all get their qualifications. It goes back hundreds of years. That
people were fine.
People were fine. Probably, you know what I mean? Well, probably less so. So just trying to keep that whole ethos going and training people up to make the bread that way.
Is there something? I mean, this conversation itself is educational for me. It feels like there is a bit more education required
Yeah.
in what's good and what's not so good for you. Because as you say, you can't lump everything into the one
No.
bread basket.
Second pun, you only get
I know. Yeah, I've got one left. It's written down here.
I think people are more informed, and I think the Bake Off and everything is definitely a bit responsible for that. I think, but there definitely is still more, and there's different campaigns that talk about it. Like where in supermarkets they say, "Oh, it's real bread," or it's freshly made. Well, it's not necessarily. You need to be an informed consumer, and I think people in today's world, they are still prepared to pay for something that is done properly, and it's like a treat. We know the difference between, people are a bit more sophisticated. They know the difference between a sourdough loaf. They want a sourdough loaf. They can taste it, and that's a treat. They want a Friday cake. They want, big cakes. You maybe not want it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
No, probably not.
You know what I mean? But you deserve a treat. It's about getting that balance out there.
Yeah, I think that's really important. There is if I think about myself, there's no doubt you go to the butcher, go to the baker, the cheesemaker, you get just better produce.
Yes.
But it's a convenience thing.
I know.
But then, there's something about just making that time. You can always find time to do it if it's important enough.
Yeah.
And actually you'll probably benefit from it. Not just it'll be better and more enjoyable, but there's probably some health benefits to doing that as well. So just taking the time. So
totally.
I'll certainly be down at the bakery.
Well,
for sure.
And you're creating a community as well, right?
Well,
to wander around and get to know people. There's value in that.
Yeah. No doubt. So every time we have a guest, then we ask them to pose a question for the next guest, not knowing who that will be.
Right.
And this question was posed by the esteemed artist Gerard M. Burns.
Okay, wow.
And Gerard's very thoughtful chap about what he does. And so his question: if you were to take a step back from yourself and look in the third person, almost giving yourself some advice objectively, what would you do or what would you change?
Are you allowed to say something that you do, or is it?
It's up to you. It's your answer.
Well, I think something I've learnt to do is just to take a breath. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's really important. Like, I learned a long time ago not to send that email.
Yeah.
And I do it, it's so counterintuitive, but, just taking a breath and actually taking a step back, like before reacting at all. And I think when you're managing a business, you're managing a team, you're managing customers, you have to be reactive a lot of the time. It's hard.
Yeah.
But taking a breath and actually taking a step back before reacting is huge.
I said no. That's a really good one. I can. Again, I think, and it's an experience thing, isn't it? Because it's usually never a great idea to just go fire that email back.
I still write the email.
Oh yeah, right.
I still write the email and I get it all down, and then I stop shaking, and then I don't send it.
Do you find yourself ever? I meditate every morning.
Oh yeah.
So I try to just find ways to have a good routine, right? But even in doing that, it's like 10 minutes. I use an app. It's not rocket science,
as well.
But actually, in those situations where you may want to respond,
yes,
even just doing it for 3 deep breaths can make a big difference.
Yeah.
Just.
I taught my son that technique when he was young, to take, it was 10 deep breaths, like when he was he was very small, like a meltdown, just stop and breathe, and I think just that you want to create resilience in your kids and everyone, and just being able to have some tools like that to to stop and breathe and remind myself of that all the time.
It's as hard as it is in your own business, you have to try and take the emotion out of it.
Yeah,
And
totally.
be objective,
Yeah.
even though you are
Yeah.
in the moment, just right.
And it feels personal.
Yeah, it always. Of course, it does.
Yeah.
It always does. It feels whatever it is. It'll feel like a slight on you or an insult or something. But you have to just take that step. That's a really good answer. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So on that theme,
Yeah.
what would you like to leave at the door on your way out for somebody else to?
Yeah, so it's kind of similar but not exact in the idea. So more based on. So I stopped wearing a watch several years ago because it was making me anxious, or I was watching the clock, and when life was absolutely chaotic. So what did you remove from your life to help, the chaos that life brings?
That is a brilliant question.
Yeah.
Really, really like that.
Yeah.
That comes from all your experience.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Enough. Like, you'll never not know the time, but there's something about sometimes when you've got a watch on, it's just a tool to...
Especially even take it to the next degree is the smartwatches.
Yes.
It's even worse.
I know.
I turn off all the... I don't know why I've got a smartwatch. I turn off all the notifications. It just annoys me. I go, oh.
I know.
It takes you out of the moment that you're in. If we're sitting here right now and my watch is buzzing away, then I'm not going to be present to have a conversation with you. That's a great one. Right. I'm looking forward to asking that one.
That's cool.
So... what should people look out for now then? When can they come and visit you?
Yeah, so we are currently renovating the site and we're hoping to have an opening weekend, November the 23rd. So
wow, so
that's not far away at all. So so we're working with Story Shop, the PR agency, to get the word out there, and it's very exciting, it's very new. And I've got some help from esteemed ex-customer, well, actually current customer just now, Gillian from Something Brewed, who's helping me get it all set up. Great. Because we don't, so it's bringing in people that know more about the shop as well.
Yeah.
So we're all working just, in a 5-6 week time scale to set up a retail shop for the first time.
Brilliant. I love that.
Nothing like a bit of pressure.
I know, why not? You need to set a deadline, what it's like. It's interesting even within that and another common theme, and something we do like to talk about, is that when you ask people for help, generally they will.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. And I, my husband was saying to me, "You're nuts. You constantly talk about life balance and you want to open a shop." And I says, "But I know that I will find somebody to help me do that." And I did.
Yeah.
And it was actually through, I didn't know Jill, it was through my driver, who's been with me, one of my longest serving drivers, part of the family again, and he says, "You need to go and speak to her." She'd had a couple of shops, she was doing her own events. Now she's probably got some time, and she's got such a skill set, and she's probably going to have her own business helping people do that. So she's been amazing, but I just knew I'd get help.
Yep.
And I know I'll get the right people to run it. I just and it'll just not be stressful at all. It's not another business.
I love your positivity.
But believe it and it will come.
Yes. No, that's brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Kathleen. That's been great. I really enjoyed that conversation.
Thank you so much.
Well, thanks again, everyone, for listening and watching. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe across our socials. Also, you can find the Bavarian Bakehouse website, Instagram, Facebook, all the usual places. Go and look them up. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
Thank you.